One weekend, I stayed at my grandmother's house while she was away on a trip with friends. I slept in the guest room, which had 2 twin beds, the same ones my brother and I used during childhood sleepovers. I chose the bed by the window, but before settling in, I double-checked all the doors to make sure they were locked. Since it was still early, I spent some time scrolling on my phone, watching videos and texting. Then, I heard something, a woman's voice outside, repeating hello every few seconds. Cautiously, I crept toward the front door, listening closely. The voice seemed to be coming from the porch. There was no peephole, but the dining room windows offered a clear view. I peeked through the blinds, trying not to be obvious, but the moment I looked, I saw her. An older woman, maybe in her late 50s or early 60s, standing on the stoop. She was staring right at me, as if she knew I'd be watching. Her smile was unsettling, not warm, but unnerving. I backed away, wondering if she was one of my grandmother's friends. But why would anyone be here at midnight? And why just stand there repeating hello instead of knocking? Uneasy, I retreated to the guest room and shut the door. The voice stopped. Maybe she left. I texted friends, Anne, Edie family about the bizarre encounter, but after a while the silence returned and I started to relax. Then, a loud bang at the window jolted me. A tap, a forceful hit. My heart pounded as adrenaline surged. The voice returned. Hello? Summoning courage, I yanked up the blind and came face to face with the same woman, separated only by glass. Her grin widened. I screamed, dropped the blind, and bolted to the living room. After a frantic search of the house, I barricaded myself in the upstairs guest room, too shaken to call the police. Hours later, I finally checked outside. She was gone. The next morning, I called my grandmother. She panicked, telling me about a strange woman who had been watching her at the grocery store days earlier, smiling for no reason. I tried to reassure her, but the coincidence sent chills down my spine. Later, while navigating college life, I matched with someone on a dating app. We hit it off, shared interest, similar humor, and planned a movie date. She asked me to wait at a specific spot near campus where she'd pick me up. I shared my location as requested. A car pulled up, but instead of her, an older man rolled down the window. "What are you doing out here alone?" he asked. When I said I was waiting for someone, he claimed to be her father and insisted I get in. Something felt off. He seemed too old. His story didn't add up. I refused, and Wall came away. He called after me, but I kept moving. Then, I spotted the same car parked nearby, lights off. Tinted windows hid the driver, but I didn't stick around to find out. A text came through. "Why didn't you get in the car with my dad?" I ignored it and sprinted toward campus. Footsteps followed me. Ducking behind a van, I spotted the man again, holding something indistinct. "Come back," he muttered. I bolted, losing him easily. Back in my dorm, another text arrived, a violent threat. I saved it as evidence, blocking the number immediately. At 18, I worked part-time as a school janitor. One summer night, I was left alone to lock up. My supervisor, Tom, asked me to store extra chairs in the basement before leaving. The storage room was dim, cluttered with art mannequins draped in cloths. After my first trip, I returned to find one of the cloths removed. I texted Tom, who said no one else should be there. Then I noticed another cloth in the corner, something moving beneath it. I ran upstairs, locked the basement door, and told Tom. He brushed it off, telling me to handle it. When I went back, the cloth lay flat, empty. Then, metallic thuds echoed above. The ceiling vent dented inward, as if someone was crawling through, then stopped directly over me. A series of violent bangs followed, like they were trying to break through. I fled, locked the school, and left. The next day, I gave Tom a vague explanation, relieved it was my last week. The whole experience left me shaken, but I tried to brush it off as just another weird night on the job. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that whoever, or whatever, had been in that basement wasn't done yet. A few nights later, I was back at the school for my final shift. Tom had already left, and I was mopping the gym floor, trying to ignore the eerie quiet. The overhead lights flickered, casting long shadows. Then, from the far end of the gym, I heard it. A slow, deliberate scrape, like something being dragged across the floor. I froze, gripping the mop handle. The sound stopped. Silence. Then, a whisper, so faint I almost missed it. "You left the door open." My blood ran cold. The basement door. I had locked it, I was sure of it, but when I turned, there it was, slightly ajar. I didn't wait to see what came out. I dropped the mop, sprinted to the exit, and didn't look back. Years later, I still think about that school. I heard they installed cameras not long after I left, but sometimes I wonder, did they ever find out what was really hiding in that basement? Or did it just learn to stay out of sight? I never went back to that school after my final shift. The pay wasn't worth whatever was lurking in the shadows of that basement. But the strangest part? A few months later, I ran into Tom at a gas station. He looked used to it, like he hadn't slept in weeks. When I asked how work was going, his face went pale. "They found something in the vents," he muttered, eyes darting around like he expected someone to be listening. Maintenance went up there after complaints about scratching noises. Said the ducks were frou-frou, schnoozed in places, like something had been nesting. I didn't press him for details. The way his hands shook as he lit a cigarette told me enough. Last I heard, the school got a full security overhaul. Motion sensors, brighter lights, the works. But here's the thing. My little brother started there last year. One night, he texted me out of the blue. "Why did you never tell me about the lady in the basement?" I called him immediately, but he swore he was just joking. Said he'd heard rumors from older kids about a custodian who quit after seeing something he couldn't explain. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's all just stories, but I still check the locks twice at night, and I never ever go near air vents. The phone call with my brother left me unsettled for days. I kept replaying his tone, the way his voice had cracked when he mentioned the basement. He swore it was just a prank, but something didn't sit right. A week later, I drove past the old high school on a whim. The building looked the same, but the parking lot was empty except for one car, a beat-up sedan, with its trunk slightly ajar. As I slowed down, a figure emerged from the school's side door. Even from a distance, I recognized Tom's hunched posture. He was dragging something heavy, wrapped in a tarp, toward the car. Our eyes met for half a second before he froze. Then he moved faster, shoving the bundle into the trunk with a grunt. The way it slumped, too soft to be chairs or equipment, made my stomach turn. I hit the gas and left. That night, the local news reported a missing janitor from the school district. The photo showed a woman I didn't recognize. My brother transferred schools the next semester. We don't talk about it. But sometimes, when the house creaks at night, I wonder, did Tom ever finish cleaning up what was in those vents? Or did he just become part of whatever's still hiding down there? The missing janitor case was quietly closed a month later, resolved without foul play, according to the police report. But I couldn't shake what I'd seen. I started digging through old school records at the public library, my hands shaking as I turned brittle newspaper pages. That's when I found it. A yellowed article from 1987. The school basement had flooded that year, forcing a week-long closure. Workers reported disturbances during repairs, tools going missing, whispers, and empty corridors. The strangest detail? They discovered a network of tunnels beneath the foundation, some showing signs of recent use. The school board voted to seal them with concrete. I drove back to the school that night, flashlight in hand. The basement door was padlocked now, but through the small window, I could see something glinting on the floor, fresh scratch marks radiating from the old art storage room, and near the vent, a single muddy handprint, fingers splayed like someone had crawled out. The next morning, Tom's car was found abandoned near State Woods. The trunk smelled of bleach. Inside were three things: a shredded janitor's uniform, a child's hair ribbon, and a note in shaky handwriting that read, "She doesn't like the light." They never found his body. The school stands empty now, windows boarded, but sometimes at dusk you can see the basement lights flicker on and off, like someone's down there, testing the switches, waiting. I keep my brother's new school address memorized, just in case whatever's in those tunnels gets hungry again. The boarded-up school became a local legend after Tom's disappearance. Kids dared each other to touch the rusted chain-link fence at midnight, while parents whispered warnings about that cursed place. But the truth was far worse than any ghost story. Last winter, urban explorers broke in and live-streamed their descent into the basement. The video went viral for all the wrong reasons. In the final frames before the feed cut out, you could clearly see: 1. The concrete seals on the tunnel trunk cracked open from the inside. 2. Dozens of small handprints leading toward the vents. 3. A single word scratched into the wall: down. The police found their equipment still running, propped against the art storage door. The camera's last recording was 47 minutes of muffled scratching, then a wet crunch before silence. Now the city wants to demolish the building. The construction crew starts Monday. I'll be watching from a safe distance, because whatever's in those tunnels, it's learned how to use doors. And I still have my brother's new address written in 3 different places, just in case the demolition crew never showed up. I drove by the school on Monday morning, expecting to see bulldozers and work crews. Instead, there was just a single police cruiser parked crookedly by the entrance, driver's door hanging open. The officer's coffee was still steaming on the dash when investigators arrived. They found his flashlight in the basement, its lens shattered. The beam had captured something in its final moments. Blurry streaks moving up the walls, converging near the ceiling vent. Crime scene techs refused to process the scene after their equipment malfunctioned. One rookie quit on the spot when his thermal camera detected 37 heat signatures in the sealed tunnels, all clustered near the surface. The mayor called it an ongoing structural assessment in the press release. But I know the truth. I saw the work order that mysteriously appeared on the demolition company's schedule. Reject containment specifications. Reinforce all basement access points. Weld vents shut from exterior. Install motion-activated lighting. Minimum 10,000 lumens. They're not trying to destroy the school anymore. They're trying to keep whatever's inside from getting out. My brother graduates next year. I've already started researching colleges in desert states. Places with no basements, no tunnels. Places where the ground stays dry and the earth doesn't move. Sometimes 3 a.m., when the neighborhood dogs start howling in unison, I pull up the school's live perimeter cam on my phone, just to watch, just to make sure the lights in the boarded-up windows stay dark. They always do, until they don't. The last time I checked the live feed, the camera glitched at exactly 3:17 a.m. For 3 seconds, the night vision flared green, just long enough to see every basement window glowing like embers. Then the feed cut to static. The city quietly installed new cameras the next day, higher resolution, infrared. They called it a security upgrade. I don't check the feed anymore. Some doors should stay closed, some lights should stay off. And some schools should have been burned to the ground years ago. Your brother's acceptance letter to Arizona State arrived today. The desert never sounded so beautiful.